strip of sand in the western Philippines. Soldiers dig in beneath a sky the color of bleached bone. Machine guns are propped on improvised firing positions. Behind them, the sea glitters like a hazard map open water that can carry cargo and commerce one day and conflict the next. What is happening here is deliberate, rehearsed, and designed to look like the messy, urgent business of defending islands under attack. This is Balikatan, an annual set of exercises whose name translates as shoulder to shoulder. In 2026, it has grown into one of the most visible demonstrations of shifting power across the Indo-Pacific, roughly 17,000 personnel from 7 nations operating across land. The exercises are officially framed as defensive and humanitarian, training for disaster response, coordinated search and rescue, and protecting sea lanes, but the choreography on display, amphibious landings, rebuffed, missile batteries at sea, integrated in naval strikes, tells a more pointed, strategic story about deterrence and readiness in an increasingly contested maritime neighborhood. At the center of this choreography are US and Philippine forces, providing the backbone for a wider coalition. Troops from Japan, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and France fill out the ranks, bringing naval assets, transport aircraft, special operations teams, and the logistical know-how required to move people, fuel, and ammunition across great distances. Japan's presence is especially notable. Recent policy shifts in Tokyo have opened the door to deeper security cooperation across Southeast Asia, and if participation here marks one of the more significant operational engagements it has taken on in the region. On Palawan, in one coastal training zone, the scenario is blunt and elemental. Simulated hostile forces approach the shore, intent on securing a foothold. Defenders prepare ambushes, set up observation posts, and integrate air cover devacam with coastal missile teams. Offshore, warships maneuver in patterns designed to test detection ranges and interdiction timing. Aircraft buzz overhead, practicing surveillance runs and close air support. Drones skitter forward for reconnaissance, then melt back as manned platforms coordinate strikes. Mobile missile platforms punch at designated targets beyond the surf, while ground units feed real-time targeting data through resilient communications networks. The tempo of those drills drew praise from a senior USS commander watching from the line. He said, "This was an amazing show of firepower." A US officer overseeing training later added, "I'm incredibly impressed with what we saw today." Those quotes capture 2 impulses at the heart of these maneuvers: the demonstration of capability and the reassurance that disparate militaries can learn to act as one under pressure. That interoperability, how different nations' forces synchronize sensors, weapons, and command, is the central AI. Theme: in modern conflict scenarios, having capable units is not enough. Those units must be able to talk to one another, share targeting data, coordinate logistics, and make rapid decisions across different legal frameworks and languages. Exercises like Balikatan move partnerships from ceremonial salutes and combined parades into operational habits. Common communication protocols, shared rules of engagement, integrated supply chains, and practice command relationships. Technologies on display reflect contemporary shifts in warfare. Automated targeting systems shorten the loop between detection and strike. Swarming drone reconnaissance provides persistent eyes over a wide area. Mobile missile systems can relocate in minutes, trading long-range strike for survivability. Electronic warfare tools and cyber teams practice degrading adversary sensors while hardening friendly networks. In live fire scenarios, these systems are tested not in isolation, but in combined operations. Aircraft coordinating with ships and ground-based missile batteries, logistics hubs directing resupply, and intelligence feeds flowing into tactical decision-making. The selection of scenarios is no accident. The exercises emphasize island defense, protection of sea lanes, and rapid reinforcement across dispersed archipelagos, conditions that mirror the physical realities of the South China Sea and the broader Indo-Pacific. Those waters are threaded with shipping routes, carrying a third of global trade, and are ringed by nations with overlapping territorial claims. For many participating states, the concern is less about initiating conflict and more about preventing one by rehearsing plausible defense options. They aim to make the costs of aggression clear and the risks of miscalculation higher for any potential adversary. Political context follows close behind the military choreography. Officials stress that the drills are not targeted at any single country. Yet Beijing's posture and the pattern of its responses shape how others interpret the messaging. Chinese officials have criticized the exercises, arguing that outside military activity introduces division into the region. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said what the Asia-Pacific region most needs is peace and tranquility. And what it least needs is the introduction of external forces to create division and confrontation. Beijing has warned that continued military alignment among regional partners could backfire and destabilize trust in the region. Those warnings have been matched by Beijing conducting its own operations near the Philippines, live-fire naval and air exercises east of Luzon, rapid maneuvering drills, maritime replenishment operations, and coordinated strike simulations. Chinese statements frame those actions as protecting sovereignty and maintaining regional stability. From a regional perspective, however, overlapping drills by multiple actors create a charged environment where ships and aircraft from different countries operate in proximity, sometimes with only minutes to react should something go wrong. That proximity raises real risks. Training scenarios can be tightly controlled in their own sandbox. Real-world interactions are not. Miscommunications, sensor errors, or a single misinterpreted maneuver can cascade into a dangerous chain reaction when multiple armed forces are involved. Military planners acknowledge the tension. They prepare detailed engagement and deconfliction protocols, but they also know that the fog of operations and the unpredictability of human decision-making can undermine even the best-laid safeguards. The geography here compounds those challenges. Island chains, narrow straits, and choke points concentrate naval and air traffic into channels where reaction times are compressed and tactical options are constrained. The so-called Taiwan Corridor and the broader South China Sea are not abstract theaters. They are narrow, complex environments, where local weather, coral reefs, and shallow waters complicate the movement of ships and aircraft. Training to operate in those conditions, moving supplies, evacuating civilians, or repelling amphibious assaults requires granular knowledge of local terrain as much as it requires high-end weapons. At the same time, the composition of participating countries signals a shift in alliance networks. Canada and New Zealand have increased their operational roles. France, with territories and assets in the Indo-Pacific, underscores the growing European interest in regional security. For the United States, deepening interoperability among allies and partners is a strategy intended to distribute burden and present a coherent deterrent posture. For regional governments, these exercises are a visible assurance that the security architecture is not static. Analysts watching these patterns point to a movement from symbolic cooperation to operational integration. Where once allied drills were occasionally ornal and largely ceremonial, current practice embeds interoperability into doctrine. Joint missile defense cells, combined air tasking orders, rapid cross-stacking of supplies, shared maritime domain awareness. The idea is to lower the transaction costs of coalition action, so that when policymakers authorize a coordinated response, the militaries involved can execute quickly and effectively. Yet there are trade-offs. The logic of deterrence rests on credible capability backed by clear political will, but demonstrating capability can be read in different ways by different audiences. For partners, it is assurance. For an adversary, it may look like containment. For neutral regional actors, it can heighten anxiety about a new front line forming in their waters. The choreography of deterrence thus walks a narrow line between stability by prevention and instability by prevention. Within the exercises, realism is a double-edged sword. Simulated invasions and contested landings sharpen tact, proficiency. They also normalize certain worst-case scenarios. When commanders repeatedly train to repel amphibious assaults, when navies practice disabling the logistics of an opponent, the mental template for conflicts is reinforced across a wide set of militaries. That can be strategically stabilizing if it deters aggression. But it also hardens assumptions that certain outcomes are inevitable, which in turn can shape future policy choices in ways that increase friction. On the human scale, the drills are ordinary in many respects. Service members eat under tarps, check gear, refuel helicopters at improvised pads, and run post-exercise maintenance that strains crews and equipment. Interpreters shuttle between units, engineers repair radios, medical teams rehearse mass casualty scenarios. The workaday rhythms of preparation, logistics, supply lines, and the mundane mechanics of maintaining readiness are the quiet backbone of what looks dramatic from a distance. Those details matter. Too so because real operations hinge on the small, rarely glamorous tasks that make sustained action possible. There is a narrative thread that follows beyond the exercises themselves, the diplomatic and domestic conversations that exercises like Balikatan provoke. Participating governments use these events to send messages to domestic audiences about commitment and competence. Local leaders emphasize economic ties and the benefits of hosting allied forces, while also managing public concerns about sovereignty and the presence of foreign militaries on home soil. Diplomatic channels hum with both reassurance. Offers to share intelligence or cooperate on maritime safety, and cautionary notes about escalation. If a broader pattern is forming, it is one of increasing normalization of multi-layered, multinational defense practice in the Indo-Pacific. Alliances are no longer just treaties on paper, they are operational habits. The militaries involved are building the muscle memory to act together, across theaters and domains. Whether that evolution reduces the likelihood of conflict or merely prepares actors to fight it better depends on a host of political choices that play out outside the training ground, in capitals and on diplomatic back channels. For the people on the sand in Palawan and the sailors watching the horizon, the drills are about preparedness. For the strategists and diplomats watching from afar, the drills are both reassurance and a test. Can a sprawling set of partners build coherence in ways that deter conflict without creating new incentives for escalation? The answer will be written over years in policy decisions, signaling patterns, and the steadiness of routine interactions at sea. In the meantime, the images of joint maneuvers, ships steaming in coordinated formations, aircraft executing combined patterns, multinational teams huddled over shared maps are meant to be unmistakable. They tell a simple, urgent story. That a widening network of partners, is practicing to defend shared interests, that they are aware of the contested nature of the region, and that they are building the seams of cooperation likely to be called upon should a crisis occur. Back on the beach at the end of the day, gear is stowed, personnel debrief, and the sea returns to its indifferent course. Machines fall quiet. The drills will resume tomorrow and the day after, each repetition laying down a little more familiarity, a little more trust in joint procedures. The larger question, whether these preparations will keep the peace or make contagion of confrontation more likely, remains a matter of political judgment and strategic patience. For now, Balikatan's participants are practicing the difficult business of being prepared. They are rehearsing for scenarios they hope never to face, but believe they must be ready to meet. As they do, the wider region watches and listens, interpreting each movement, each message, and each quote for what it might mean about deter. Reince alliance cohesion and the fragile calculus that governs peace in the Indo-Pacific.